Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. A remarkable day 2 of OpTic's Major 3 here in Texas. Some ridiculous storylines to start and finish the day. Shock losers bracket eliminations, and OpTic Texas themselves survived by the skin of their teeth through to Saturday at their home major. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Starting then with LAG versus Vegas. Game 1, Vegas dominated 250 to 120 odds. This is a map where I believe LAG previously roasted Vegas for picking it against them because they were apparently so good on Embassy hardpoints. Vegas smoked them game 1. Arcitys has a really rough map, and after the map he looks very distraught really, and he's kind of been out of sorts it seems, Arcitys, for a good few weeks at this point, and we were wondering if there was anything going on there. Now we got the remarkable announcement after this map 1 that Arcitys would be subbing out of the series and MarkyB is coming in. Now okay, first of all they wanted Neptune I believe, then they potentially wanted Spart, but there was Challengers action as well, and their academy roster featuring those guys I believe was in the middle of a game, so they actually couldn't get the players they wanted. And also Neptune, because I don't know if he's technically the substitute because Spart is the sub, Neptune's just an academy player, not exactly sure how that works. Like, can he actually sub in? Not really sure. So you know, the long and the short of it is MarkyB was coming in, and we wondered initially, like, okay, are they bringing in some sort of S&D specialist here like Joey Nubsy tried to do on Seattle Surge a few years ago, you guys might remember, in Modern Warfare, and that remains the only one that was planned. There have been some other ones since then that have been, you know, unintentional before the series began, as was this one. Now, of course, we're all hoping that Arcitys is all well and okay. To my understanding, he's been playing with something of an issue over the last couple of weeks that's got to a point where he, I guess, maybe hoped that he was going to be able to play this series at a high level and felt like the issue that's been bothering him got to such an extent that he couldn't play this series and be as good of a teammate as he wanted to be for his teammates. So, you know, hopefully we get some more updates from Arcitys over the coming days, and maybe he's going to take some time off. Not really sure about that one, but yeah, incredible stuff. So head coach MarkyB subs into the team, and obviously you know, he hugged all the boys. Maybe they knew that he was dealing with something, and unfortunately that's him away for now, and of course his team out of the tournament shortly after. He drops the heart emoji as well, so hopefully all's well with Arcitys, of course. Great fella, but he just hasn't been going his way lately, so hoping everything works out in his favour shortly. But it didn't work out for his team, of course, so head coach MarkyB had to step in. MarkyB, former player, kind of a legend of the European scene, really solid player in the day, part of many legendary teams and lineups, and okay, look, but he hasn't played this game on a competitive level, so the crowd was getting behind it. It was quite exciting to see because, of course, Vegas started out kind of being the heroes here, people wanting to see the good run from Clay, but then okay, MarkyB comes on stage and everyone's chanting MarkyB. It was good fun, and in fairness, the last time a coach subbed in for a game, of course, was Ricky when he subbed in for LG way back in the Black Ops 4 days at Anaheim, when Ricky clutched a 1v2 Game 5 round 11 to knock Method's team out of the tournament. Wouldn't quite be the same story here for MarkyB, and I actually completely forgot about this copy passer that Chris has hit and reminds me of. The MarkyB isn't so great copy passer. If you guys have been around a while, you might well know this one. Crimsix breaks records, Marky breaks the rules. You can keep your stats. I prefer the magic, so just good stuff all around. And look, he did go 0-6 in the Search and Destroy. Round 1, he went to the kitchen and just started snaking. I thought it was hilarious. The crowd was going to love it as well. And in fairness, right, he drops an 0-6 donuts, but it was the same as what Octane did against Thieves, or against FaZe, sorry, would do well to play himself. So, you know, after game 1, okay, MarkyB obviously wasn't having a particularly good time. Clay was maybe trying to cheer him up a little bit because they smoked them in the Search and Destroy, as you would expect. But game 3 of the series, this is when they turned it around. And MarkyB, this maybe goes to show how Fortress Control is busted, because MarkyB, having obviously not played this game at a high level and even killing himself here with a grenade, finds himself getting pieces on the defensive side here of this control, and LAG win the map. So MarkyB managed to win more maps this tournament than a Minnesota Rokkr did, which is just honestly like phenomenal stuff. And what a day of storylines, really. Now, okay, so MarkyB wins, and the funniest thing about this to me was that after this map that they won, they were talking all kinds of trash to Vegas and to the crowd, I suppose, a little bit. Like on the right-hand side here, you can see they're talking trash. MarkyB's having a go as well on the other side of the stage. Thought that was hilarious that this guy's talking trash across the main stage after getting subbed in this type of situation. But he actually didn't play another map, so that might well be the last map MarkyB ever competes on, and he wins it because Spart was then available after game 4 and or after game 3, sorry, and then Spart subs in. So MarkyB goes 1-in-1 map count, and then, I mean, as Pred was saying, this is too good because it was just absolutely hilarious. And then Spart then comes in, I guess their actual sub, that was then available. So I guess MarkyB thought, you know what, I probably really shouldn't be here, despite not really absolutely frying game 3, but at least getting the win. And in fairness to the pros and to the likes of Slasher, he was like, well, Fortress has got to go after what I've seen here. If MarkyB can get away with that and actually win the map, like, it's got to go. And the pros love complaining about Fortress control, but they still keep playing it every single series. And at the time, MarkyB had won more maps than OpTic at Major 3. People were getting annoyed about this. Boy, should have expected this reaction, but still pretty funny nonetheless. So game 4, Sparks comes into the team, and Temp just completely took over this game 4. It got kind of sketchy for Vegas. Of course, they should have won this series comfortably. They did win this series comfortably, but this is one of the most cursed scoreboards you're ever going to see. Temp has a 1.8 for 9k damage, 78 kills, and on the other side, 6 players on LAG all go negative. Just one of these unbelievable scoreboards that you're certainly not going to see every day, and it's the first time I've ever had to, you know, make this work on the website where you can find, like, I was struggling to even, the website was breaking. It didn't understand what was going on with so many players on the team. I had to mess around with it to make the numbers actually work properly on the scoreboards. So, you know, there you go. That was the first series. Hope Arcitys as well, but absolute madness. The second series was looking good for Rokkr game 1, and then they did the classic Minnesota Rokkr choking game 1. Thieves win a tight hydro, and then Rokkr collapsed for the rest of the series. This actually for Rokkr is the worst stage in the history of the CDL. They went 0-6 series count, 0-5, and then they lost the first round. Now that's been done before, right? Vegas or Paris Legion in the past have done that before, but a map count has never been this bad. They went 4-18 map count this stage, Minnesota Rokkr, and even Octane was voicing them, of course, in the post-game interview. 4-18 map counts. They didn't even have like that hard of an online qualifiers theoretically, and I believe the previous record low series or map count was like 6. I think Vegas went like, or Paris, well, sorry, went like 6 and something before for an 0-6 series count as well. But 4 map wins over 6 series is the worst that we have seen in CDL history, and that goes to the top 3 team from Boston in the Minnesota Rokkr. So, you know, disastrous stage for Attach and the guys, and as he says, sorry to our supporters, we'll be back stronger, back better, but I do wonder if they'll be back with an entirely different roster, because, I mean, look, I know that Diamond Sota said, Brett Diamond, right, from the Minnesota guys, that they're going to stick by their coaching stuff and work through this, but, and basically, like, implies that they're the ones that are going to be making the calls on what changes they need to make, if any. But, yeah, the difficulty is really that Bance was a monster at Major 2, and since then hasn't been the same player, and despite the fact that the numbers are still okay, and they were competitive in this series, they still got 3-0'd, and it reminds me of OpTic when they've been getting 3-0'd lately, where they'll make things close, but then always collapse when it matters, and that's where Thieves are a team that is going to clutch them in those environments. Afro's been the all-star, but it's been nowhere near enough, and you can't really give Afro that much praise when your team's going 4-18 map count regardless. Then, though, we get into the OpTic series. So Rokkr already up top 12, obviously we saw LAG out top 12, another team had to go top 12, and I said today this is going to be a 3-2 to OpTic, and the reason why is because, yes, OpTic aren't exactly the clutchest team in the world, but London are the anti-ice. If there's one team that you need to break down against you to win a series in front of your home crowd, London is the team that you choose. I don't think London are the worst team in the game right now. I think Minnesota Rokkr are currently playing worse. I think LAG are currently in a worse spot as well. There's maybe some others you could throw into the mix. London have played quite reasonable Call of Duty lately, but if there is a team that's going to fall short and absolutely break down when it matters, that is the team. Game 1, OpTic lose. There was a huge map here from Nasty, actually, game 1. I mentioned earlier today I thought Nasty was going to go off today, as he did. As did a Seam later in the series as well. OpTic, though, do clutch up and win the Search and Destroy. Massively important for them. Nice plays from Huke to actually stay alive in this one and win this 1-2 clutch. Again, though, watching Huke this series, man, some of the plays that are being made are unbelievable at times. And also, I wonder, like, has this guy turned the gyro aim on again or something? Because, I don't know, like, he was shooting to Windy today. I can't lie. Just watching some of the gameplay was questionable. I don't know. But still, nice 1v2 here. Gets the job done. And obviously, no time to defuse the bomb at the time. So, GG. OpTic take that round. And as the game further progresses, I think Dashy had a nice couple of rounds. And then Ghosty, 1-2 clutch towards the end. I'd say technically not a 1v2 because he spins on a seam here. And that was disgusting. And then clutches the 1v1 against Scraps to win the game 1-1. Ghosty had his nice moment. I thought it was good that Ghosty played well this series, I thought at least. And, you know, had his moment in the sun in front of the home crowd. 1-1 series. However, we then get into where here, OpTic. The IQ of this team is probably not the highest I've ever seen in COD history. They go into a fortress control again. Now, first of all, why did OpTic even decide to play this map in this series? I don't really understand it. London, I believe, were 0-3 on LSELO. Now, yes, OpTic don't like LSELO, but London had never won on LSELO ever, and Fortress, most people think it's just a 50-50 coin flip map. If you want to assert dominance as the superior team, you should really be playing LSELO, I think, in this series. They didn't. It went round 5, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. So OpTic obviously thought, and Ghosty admitted after the series, that this was his mistake. So OpTic thought they had defense secured. They thought they had enough ticks. They thought they had enough kills to get defense secured round 5. So they sat in spawn, didn't even try and win their second offense because they thought they were getting defense. Turns out when they spawned into round 5, they had offense again and they got bodied in like 30 seconds. Now this was a big mistake, of course, because yes, they should have gone for a little bit more. And as Enable says, Street saying OpTic and Kyle counting lives because look, Shotzzy wouldn't have known what was going on. I don't imagine Huke would have known what was going on. They seemingly trusted Ghosty for the numbers, and Ghosty miscalculated, got it wrong, and you know, honest mistake, I guess, from him, but nonetheless a kind of typical OpTic mistake at the moment where they thought they had it sorted, they hid, and in the end their calculations were off and OpTic go down 2-1 in the series, and it looked for all the world like they were going to go down 3-1 here. London had a massive start to this final hardpoint of the series. They clutched up big time early on. They were up 170 to like 80 or so. This was looking over, but all of a sudden Huke, after starting this game, 1 in 11, 1 in 13, 3 in 18 Huke was at some point. I was watching his gameplay, like it looked like some ranked play POV, I'm not gonna lie, but Huke then flipped a switch, came alive, made a good run, as did Dashy. Dashy was winning some crucial gunfights to get this team over the line in this series, and it's a classic London collapse, to be honest. They get bodied on the final few rotations, go down to a game 5, but again at game 5 it looked like all of a sudden London are back in it, up 3-0. Shotzzy made a nice play here to tie it up at 3-3, and there was also a round where Shotzzy went on a mega flank, got a couple of kills. It was a 4v1 for Scraps. Scraps got the first, and then they were trying to defuse the bomb. So Scraps 1v4, 3-man left, like, okay, there's no way you're going to win that. Huke decides to fly out and challenge him, wins the gunfight, thankfully for OpTic, and they win the round regardless. But man, like the gunfight chal that Huke did there, I was like, oh my god, if Huke lost that gunfight, like that could legitimately have been a 1v4 going for Scraps. But he won it on that occasion. I don't think it was a good play, but he won the gunfight on that occasion. They won the round, and in the end, OpTic clutch up and send London home. Feel bad for Nasty and also Asim to a certain extent. They had monster series. Nasty, in my opinion, has been one of the top players of the last stage or so. He's at least top 10, I think, this stage individually. He's been on fire, but OpTic were just too good. London, of course, the full collapse as always, and they go down. So OpTic, honestly, this team, again, didn't impress me, right, this series. Beating London in this fashion, it's not a particularly impressive result, but it was cool to see them get a win in front of the home crowd. They avoid the embarrassment, at the very least, of going home top 12, which looked almost certain at some point, and ignore this final part of the thing here, because I, for some reason in my head, already thought that New York were through to the second round of losers, so, you know, no comment on that one, but I just did want to mention here, before the tweets got less convincing, that OpTic have gone from winning every series they've won so far. Guerrillas, like Minnesota, FaZe, and London, well, not necessarily London so far, but every time they've won a series, they got 3-0 the next series they played. So we'll see if that happens tomorrow, but, you know, this OpTic team right now is not particularly impressive. It's got to be one of the worst OpTic teams, to be honest, that has ever been assembled in the last decade. I know that's quite the statement to make, but let's be honest here. Look at the OpTic teams in the last decade. How many are worse than this? I don't know if that many. They've got plenty of issues to solve. They can progress, but the way they're playing right now isn't particularly good. But honestly, Asim and Nasty. Nasty had like one of the top 5 total kills in a series so far this season for the loss with a 1.3 most damage. Paulx, and Nasty looks so good since the role change, but yeah, Paulx again online to LAN. It's not pretty. Changes need to be made. We knew it, and it's got to happen now. But OpTic fans can't get too happy about this series result against London. At the end of the day, it's London they defeated to avoid a top 12 placing in a series that they arguably should have lost in game 4, and they will play a team that's had their number for some time in tomorrow's game when they play the Florida Mutineers. As I say, I, for some reason in my head, thought that New York were already through, but they weren't. Mutineers were yet to arrive yet on the stage, and they won this series in not comfortable fashion, but in devastating fashion for the Subliners. Subliners go down game 1. They really should have won the first hardpoint, I think, on Hotel. Again, they lose a heartbreaker Hotel, where it was super close until right at the end when Florida actually clutched up. The Search and Destroy not close at all. I believe since Major 1 that they won, of course, a Pro-Am event, they are 0-6 on LAN Search and Destroys. So they haven't won a search on LAN in a long time now, the Subliners, and that is not a good look for them at all. They do dominate the control, though. Like, Fortress, they're good at this map, as are Seattle. They do have an offense round win in them potentially at some point. They dominate Florida in this control. I thought, okay, the reverse sweep is on. And look at this series stat as well. When New York have won the control in a series so far this season, they were 16-0 in series count. When they lost, they were 0-10. They bucked the trend on that one, though, by losing the game 4. And a great play actually from Havoc here at the end. He makes the call to, you know what, I'm going to go for the old scrap time, and gets it just in time to get the final tick on Hydra. Again, a ridiculous map where Florida somehow clutch up when it matters, and the numbers don't paint a pretty picture for the Subliners because they actually outslayed them. Skies had plus 18 for 1.34. Priest back to not being particularly impactful, as we were maybe slightly surprised that he was at the start of the season. And yeah, the Subliners go down. And it's got to be said, you know, OpTic were going to get a lot of trash talk, and there's obviously a lot of things being talked about OpTic right now, given the way they're playing the game. But Subliners having one major one, they're out again at top 12. And this loss to Florida Mutineers is pretty much unforgivable for them. I do wonder what's going to happen in terms of any changes they might consider making going forwards, because they might just be Pro-Am merchants. They won the Pro-Am last year, they won the Pro-Am this year, but they're 13-1 map count, including Pro-Ams. Outside of Pro-Ams, 10-21. And I think there's a good argument that a lot of criticism needs to be leveled their way as well, given you know, a shock top 12 exit from this particular tournament. And I was genuinely going to leave it there of the day. I thought, okay, I'll discuss the Thieves Vegas series tomorrow. It can't be too interesting. But man, finishing out what might well have been the craziest day I can remember in recent Call of Duty memory, because this series was wild from start to finish. Game 1, Thieves were smoking Vegas, 206-77, and out of nowhere, they started to turn up. Led by Donny 10 at times, but 2-Will was massive. Clayster as well. TJ was great in the respawn, certainly in Game 4, I thought, in this series. And they go from 206 to 60 odds down to win this Game 1 in unbelievable fashion. Temp had a phenomenal Game 1. Kenny had a hard time. I wonder if the GV was still affecting his controller or something. But this Game 1 was wild. Bryce on the cars was out of control, and you can't blame him, because the way this finished out, yes, Clayster may or may not have abused a stair glitch a little bit to get the job done. But look at the passion in this man, man. I mean, I say this every time they win a series. Clay is the most passionate man in the entire league, and I don't even think it's close, to be perfectly honest. Their jerseys are fire as well, and are certainly deserving. I mean, Clay, man, this is a legacy performance from Clay. This really does add a lot, I think, to his stock in COD history. Literally just this one series, to be honest, I think adds quite a lot to the weight behind what Clay has achieved in competitive COD and continues to achieve to this day. Even look at the numbers here. This is pre-comeback, 63-206. This is post-comeback, or, you know, during the comeback. Kenny went 4-16 during that period for the L. Temp was 15-5, and Temp had Kenny's number this series, and we certainly saw that in the Game 2 Search and Destroy here, where it came down to a 1 versus 1 between Kenny and Temp in the round 11. Good friends, of course, for some time, but Temp clutched it up. It was a great Search and Destroy as well, and Clay was equally hyped after Game 2 as he was hyped after Game 1. A 2-0 advantage, quick out of the box, and Clay, he was hyping up Donny, and you could just tell that they were feeling it this series. And look, I question the 2-will change when it happens, but they beat Thieves online with this team, and they've beaten them on LAN with this team. They did absolutely get smoked, though, with the control. In fairness, I was like, oh my god, here we go. The reverse sweep might be in, but in fairness, Vegas are terrible at this map, and they're terrible at control anyway, so they probably knew realistically they were going to have to do this in 4 or 5. And that's exactly what they do. It was a ridiculous into the Mikado hardpoint. It looked like Vegas had it in the bag, and then Thieves somehow broke in, and then Vegas broke in again, and just about they closed out this map. But yeah, Legion 3, Thieves won again. They did it online. They've done it now on LAN. Thieves out of the tournament top 8. Vegas top 6. Their hopes of champs qualification and even making a serious run at this event are very much still alive. So, I mean, look, this video is already probably the longest video I've ever made on this channel of this type of stuff, and it just goes to show how crazy today has been, and there'll be many more talking points tomorrow as well. We've got to leave it there for now. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.